also that are not married and they are doing this incredible.
Well, there's a myriad of things. I think first of all we have to go back to writer. You are very well known for your teaching skills. Your students speak a whole lot about you.
Miss Nigeria competition.
I said, let's pick them up, let's take them back to Nigeria, and let's teach them a different kind of job.
Okay, if you just join us, you're right on time, and I have seated with me the princess of the land somewhere in Ado-Ekiti, a woman who is well vested with a whole lot of things. She's an actress, she's an educationist, she's a mother, she's a philanthropist, but please permit me as I simply introduce her as Princess Badewa Williams. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. I started by reading off some of the things I know about you. I'm sure there are a whole lot of other things we'll get to unfold in the course of the program. But I'm particularly interested. When we say actress, a lot of people will think, okay, it's Nollywood. But I know you were with Hollywood at the time. Can you share that experience with us?
Definitely. I moved to Los Angeles, actually from Jacksonville, Alabama, in 1985. I had initially studied film acting, drama, and English from Jacksonville. Then I moved to California to pursue my acting career. In California, I did a lot of stage acting predominantly because it was quite difficult for Africans to break into the film industry at that time. However, with the exposure to theater, I was eventually getting called to audition for film projects, and I did a couple of film projects while I was in Hollywood.
All right, so it was a bit difficult for Africans to break through, but you did it. Can you share the particular experience that threw you into it perfectly?
It was persistence. You just have to be persistent, because when you keep going, you will definitely achieve something. When I started out, they were always relegating me to roles of maids. They say you should just audition as a maid. I wasn't going to be a maid. I wanted to break through as a breakthrough actress. So I fought that to an extent, and that was why I started directing myself, in productions.
Oh, you were directing as well.
I was directing as well. So what also happened was a lot of us Nigerians in the industry at that time, we decided to just get ourselves together and just focus on productions, on us. A challenge we had was auditioning for American films. They would say, if you go to audition as an African, they were telling me that I didn't sound African. And on the other hand, they would hire Americans who were not Africans. So it's like, who really is the true African here? And then when we tried auditioning as Americans, they would still say, oh, your name is Badewa, where is that from? You are not an American, and that became hindrances. And at that point, I actually was using a pseudonym to act. But when I saw that they were trying to suppress my identity, I refused. I put on my resume that my name is Badewa Adejugbe. At that time, I wasn't married. So we got ourselves together and started putting productions together for ourselves to just depict our culture. And eventually that caught on. And I'm happy to say that now Africans are doing very well in Hollywood. Okay. But we broke the doors down.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I know that a lot of us have moved from the Nollywood to the, Hollywood, and you're doing so well. Maybe with time, so you could get to have a feel of that again. But I know that back to Nigeria, you have an attachment with the Abuja Film Village.
Yes.
What exactly are you doing? Are you producing?
Actually, I was brought back to Nigeria by the Abuja Film Village International Limited. My MD, Mr. Shegun Oyekunle, he and I were in Hollywood together. We were actually at UCLA together. And we were about to produce I was about to produce a script that he had written. We had put together all the technical crew, trying to put the financing together to produce this film. It's very, very, it's one of those films that will just make a lot of money once it's made. But, he came to Nigeria to meet the then Honorable Minister of FCT, Dr. Modibo, who presented him the job, who gave him the job as managing director. And Dr. Modibo told him to go and get his staff together, recruit whoever he needs to make sure it runs, and he came to me. So here I am as the general manager for the Abuja Film Village International Limited.
All right, I know again that you're doing well. Congratulations. Sometimes I move around the environment and I'm pleased with what I see. But then, before you moved down to Nigeria, other things happened to you. I know you went to school back again to study education. You know, having been in Hollywood, for such a long time, one would be wondering, what else is she looking for? You went back and moved completely off your terrain, off your arena, and went to study education. What sparked up that?
Motherhood.
Motherhood?
Yes,
Oh.
we may have plans for our lives, but things tend to happen. At that time, I had a production company called TKI Productions. And then I started another one called Latimer Pictures Incorporated, just to focus on films.
All of that was
because
in the
I had
US?
children in the U.S.
Okay.
And while my children were growing, especially my twins actually, I noticed that they were having some impediments, learning impediments. They were developmentally delayed. They were not speaking as others were. They had a difficult time understanding lessons. They were not comprehending. And it was just difficult. So I had them assessed, and it was determined they had a developmental disability called mental retardation at that time. And that just took me aback. I was in shock for a very long time. I was in denial. I wasn't going to accept it. So I started going with them to the schools to observe them in school. Then I actually realized that they were struggling. So we had to place them in a different kind of setting. And upon doing further research in trying to see how I could help my children, I just automatically enrolled in school. And I started learning about education, especially special education. And I found myself becoming an educator. So that was how my life changed. I had one vision, but then they took me in the other direction. And of course, as Africans, we try to excel, wherever it is we are. So while I was teaching, I wanted to be the best I could be. So I kept furthering and furthering my education in that capacity until I became a doctor in education.
Education, that's interesting. Now, you having gone to read this, to help your children, did it really make much of impact, just out of curiosity?
It made tremendous impact.
Okay.
And that's actually why I'm back in a capacity focusing on education as well now. Because while I was in the classrooms, the children were actually achieving, the students I was teaching. Even till today, some still contact me. Parents contact me to say thank you. You have to really have empathy in the classroom, and especially when you are dealing with children with diverse neurological disorders, you must be able to relate that. And as a mother, I took that part of me into the classroom. So I became not just a teacher, I became their advocate. I became their crusader. I was speaking for them and teaching them how to speak for themselves, teaching them how to think for themselves. And they were steadily improving. And this was actually evident in the standardized assessments. My students actually made more gains academically within the space of their levels as opposed to other children in the school. So there was definite evidence that they were improving.
That's interesting. Coming from the acting world to the education world, very interesting. If you can do it, then I definitely can do it.
And there's also a correlation too. I took acting into the classroom.
Oh, really?
I became practically an actress while teaching, because there's a methodology called total physical response where you must actually act it out. So we were doing a lot of acting out in class.
I know when things are translated into drama, it's easier to understand.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay. Now, back to Nigeria. Someone told me you started something for people who are challenged, young people who are challenged, more like a school too.
Yes.
And it's absolutely free. I haven't been able to, share that views with you, more like a philanthropy stuff.
Actually, yes, I'll take that back. It's not completely free because they must pay for some therapeutic activities.
Okay.
It's a learning center. It's not a conventional school. All the academics, of course, are definitely free. But the children have diverse needs that cannot just be dealt with just with academics. They need educational therapy. Some of them need physiotherapy, speech and language therapy. Some of them need occupational therapy. We do all kinds of therapeutic activities to assist them. And we're also doing a lot of advocacy. talking to the community and doing a lot of free stuff, seminars, trainings of teachers and parents and caregivers on how to deal with these children, because they need to be empowered. They need to be included in society. We're calling for absolute total inclusion. They can make contributions to the world, so we need to let them. So that's what my foundation is all about, giving them the access and the way.
Well, I'm going to move with you to look at this foundation and what you're doing. But before I do that, I'm going to try to find out, you were a princess, was it that easy for a princess, at the time you did, to go into the Hollywood? How did your parents take it? And eventually, when you had challenges with the kids, how did your family take it?
Okay. Well, when I first moved back when I moved to the U.S., I told my parents I wasn't going to study theater, because they were like, no, you cannot study theater. You must be a lawyer. You are so smart and this and that. We don't want you on stage, even though I was always on stage while growing up. So I compromised. I studied English and theater. So I had double majors. So I satisfied them and I satisfied me. And when they were always reading about me in the newspaper in Nigeria, because some journalists would come to California or to the U.S. generally, and they heard about me, would interview me, so they were reading about me. So they were impressed. So they let me be, And then with my children, I'm very lucky to have a family that just embraces everyone. When I was growing up, our house was not just our house, it was everybody's house. So we're always used to seeing different people. So my children had challenges. They were just encouraging me as to what to do and how to help them. They accepted my children. They're just like anybody else, And that's the whole thing about us in my family. We accept people for who they are, and we welcome them.
That's how it should be. All right, thank you. For now, I told you we will be moving to the Learning Center to get to find out her typical day at work, what it looks like, and how she works with these challenged children. But before we do that, let's take a bit of a break.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start off the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh,
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. If she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I
Okay, welcome back. I have actually relocated, but this time right at the center, the Royal Learning Place for the children who are a little bit challenged, but who are great potentials here in Nigeria and even from outside Nigeria. And of course, we are having this done under the auspices of the Princess Badiwa Adejuba Williams. And she's here right with me. You're welcome again.
Thank you very much.
Like your shade of yellow.
Thank you.
Color. Okay, it's a great place. I looked from outside and was quite impressed.
Thank you very much.
I've seen a bit of the children too, but I'm wondering, it's not easy to actually run a place like this. What does it take?
It takes patience. It takes dedication. You must really have a willing heart. Otherwise, you can't do it. You must be open-minded. You must be willing to think outside the box, try the impossible, and be hopeful. You must have faith. That's what it really takes. With all those things, and with your hard work, you'll start seeing results in the children.
Now, what are the greatest challenges you face with these children? I mean, is it that easy for parents to just come in and enroll their children here?
We even have waiting lists of parents who want their children here, but we don't have space.
Okay, waiting list?
Yes, we have so many children and adults. We don't just cater to children, we cater to adults as well, Their needs are very personalized. Each child is different. There's need for assistive technology. Our program is online, is blended learning, some online, some with teachers. We have therapists in and out every single day working with them, from speech to occupational to physio. There are also some other specializations we need that we don't have, just because we don't have the means. But beyond that, the children are fantastic.
Okay. Now, on daily basis, I know you studied this in the US and you're a practical teacher, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, how do you, when you have the very difficult ones, because I know when I went to, I think St. Vincent, somewhere in the East, you know, some of them just didn't want to come into the classroom. How do you handle it?
Well, you know, our teachers and our therapists are very patient. So they just really talk to them. They talk to the children. You know, it's amazing. Sometimes we think they don't understand. They do understand. And they can read some body languages. Of course, each disability is different. We don't really have children who don't want to come. The only instance is maybe something happened in the car. Maybe somebody spoke to them in a way they didn't want. So of course, when they get here, they make that connection that it's coming here that brought about that negative interaction. However, once they come in here, they're happy. They see their teachers, they see their therapists, they see their friends, and they mill around, they socialize with each other. So it's not really the children not wanting to come. They've always wanted to come.
I'd like to know, how has it been? I mean, turning out the students so far. You've run for a little while now. What are the progress you've been able to record, the success you've been able to record?
We've had such amazing progress. We launched 2016, but we opened officially January 2017 with only 6 students. Before the end of that term, we had about 20. Right now, we have about 55 people benefiting from our project here. We've received, people just tell us within months that their children, what they notice in the children right away is the self-esteem. They feel better about themselves, they carry themselves better, they speak better, they respond better, because this is a very low anxiety environment. There's no yelling, there's no even raising your voice on a child, there's no spanking. So the ambience is very soothing. Even the colors were chosen for reasons because they have calming effects. So the children have low anxiety when they're here, and parents are able to see that. And academically, we've assessed some children. I have to assess everybody on intake because we need to have a baseline to determine if there's a significant cognitive disability or not. Then we know what their level is once they enter. Then we reassess them again. After 6 months, all the children that I reassessed have improved tremendously, to the point that some parents were even like, that's not possible. Then they came at conferences and they challenged the children in front of the teachers to either write something or say something, and the children responded.
And these were people that could not write, or...
I had people who were so pessimistic in the beginning. Parents were like, oh, we'll just give it a try, just because. And now they're like, Dr. Williams, thank you. So the children are making progress. You know, each one is different, definitely.
What is your key, a tool or methodology for these people? I mean, I've been here for a while and they're so calm. Even when the teachers are talking to them, they're so calm. What's the key tool you use?
I think it's the educational therapy aspect of it. There are not that many educational therapists in the world, talk less of in Nigeria. I'm actually the only one I know of who is in Nigeria. We all belong to an association, and I'm the only one here. Educational therapy is different from being a teacher. It looks at the child holistically. Even in the classroom, teachers are supposed to look at each child holistically. You know, we look at their strengths, and we now look at the areas of challenges or areas of needs, and we see how can we use the strengths to compensate for the challenge. So we now develop treatment plans for each child. Each child's plan is different. There's some common things everyone has to do, like the music therapy, the yoga therapy, the cognitive development therapy, the neuro movement therapy. We do all these things just to strengthen their brain, to make them calmer, to really help them with their focus and their attention. And after that, each one has its own different program it goes into or undertakes. We have like 3 or 4 adults in every classroom. The biggest classroom, we have 8 students in it. So you can imagine it's almost one-on-one. And it's hands-on.
can we move to the classroom? Let me just have a look.
Absolutely.
All right, look forward to that. Let's do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's move to the classroom.
So this is the cheetah class. They're the older students. They're working on some academics right now. But everything they study has to do with real life situations, either careers, vocational skills, or life skills. Right now, they read an article about connecting through cooking. So they read about it at different levels, and after reading about it, they'll practicalize it. They'll now go in the kitchen and actually cook something. So they'll be independent one day. They'll have to take care of themselves, so they'll need to know how to cook. So that's one of the lessons. So all our lessons are based on real life situations that they will encounter, so that they can learn about it now.
Learn to take care of themselves.
Exactly.
Nice to meet you.
We had a birthday party yesterday. It was fantastic.
Really? It was your birthday party?
Yeah.
You didn't invite me.
Because we are not around now.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna snap you for your birthday. I'm gonna keep it with your mommy. Okay?
Alright.
Do we say cheese?
Cheese.
Alright, beautiful.
Look at it. So it's beautiful. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
Why are you covering your face? You don't want to be on TV? Mice
Okay, he's in charge of the dance.
Yes, he likes to dance and he likes to rap. He likes music.
Can you rap something for me? Okay, rap it.
I know I can.
Be what I wanna be.
If I want to eat, I'll be where I want to be.
Be. And what else is on the attitude? That's all. Okay. Thank you.
I know I can be. I work hard, I'll be where I want to be.
Alright. She'll eventually be an actress, I can guarantee you that. Right? And you too. Right? And she is learning to make hair. And she's doing a fantastic job.
You make my hair.
So it's a hair cap and then you put it on there. Normally I don't know how to weave it very well.
Well, the cap.
The cap?
Yeah.
Okay, like this one. This is the cap.
She made one.
Oh, that's
She
cute.
made one already.
I've done some inside there.
Okay, may I pass?
Okay,
Thank you. May I pass?
Alright. So what are you going to do for me?
He's an artist.
Talk now.
Yeah? Tell how are you going to do?
You can draw. Okay, better sit down and draw for me.
She's processing. Alright. And he is also working on his visual processing skills, while at the same time working on his fine motor skills, and also everything is also about color directions. He's matching, looking, discriminating between shapes. You can tell they have different colors. And what he's working on has no color specific. So he should be able to look at each shape and figure out exactly where it goes on this sheet of paper. And he'll match it to it. So he chose the processing skills. So that's how they develop processing skills in real life. But should I go into that door? Is that for females or for males? You know, being able to discriminate between information. That's what I'm looking at.
Somebody's doing the
Now, yes. She's not a student. She's a teaching assistant. As you can tell, our program here is not really academic based for this classroom. So they are learning how to make things that eventually can become a livelihood. We had an exhibition that showed some of the things that these children create. So it starts out like this, the teacher shows them, and they themselves have to now start. They see the pattern, and they start putting the different shapes together. And it becomes, we laminate or we frame it, and it becomes a piece of art.
And they'll have so much pride.
Yes, that's the thing. We had our exhibition, almost everything sold. Oh, people bought them all.
That's beautiful.
And our young man here, because he has ability to learn. You know, he's really working on his letters, sounds, identification, and he's starting to read. And beyond reading, he can now match, which is also to help with spelling. Okay, so those are the things he's been working on.
And it's one of our biggest progress offices in Copenhagen.
I see you matching a bit of the arms, the bands.
Yes.
Okay, what's your name, sir?
What's your name? What's your name? Jack. All right. Nice to meet you.
It's a beautiful job. Well, as you can see, it's a beautiful world out here. You know, people are challenged and a whole lot is produced. I'm particularly glad to be part of this environment. Thank you so much, Mrs. Thank you for doing a wonderful job. Let's keep it up. All right, the woman ends here for now. Do join us again for another exciting moment some other time. Bye.
Doctors or that are not married, and they are doing this incredible.
Well, there's a myriad of things. I think first of all we have to go back to the writer. You are very well known for your teaching skills. Your students speak a whole lot about you.
Miss Nigeria competition.
I said, let's pick them up, let's take them back to Nigeria, and let's teach them a different kind of job.
Did you get to see the way Telebabadu pulls this? Don't forget to send in your messages.
There's a difference between picking, child, and issue.
The idea that is
can do more with less people.
If we have a better way of addressing these issues, taking care of.
Congratulations, you were able to sign Tino Werner from RB Leipzig.
So you take water before your workout.
People have used their phone, using TikTok to do that.
Should I go protest? Should I?
A lot of people don't even have resources.
I'm Cecil, and this is the Medley Show on NTA.
Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative and interactive on national issues accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very...
Hello again, here is an update of the news. I'm Dennis Adigunloye. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo has announced the postponement of the 60th anniversary celebrations of OPEC slated to hold on the 30th of September at Al-Shabaab Hall in Baghdad, where OPEC was birthed. The OPEC Secretary General received a letter from Ihsan Abdul Jabbar Ismail, Minister of Oil of Iraq, announcing the postponement of the scheduled celebrations. And according to him, it was a difficult decision for Iraq, given its eagerness to welcome all OPEC members, ministers and delegations as well as other producers in the Declaration of Cooperation to Baghdad, where OPEC was created at the Baghdad Conference on the 14th of September 1960. Ismail says his country remains ready and willing and able to host an anniversary event, having completed all the necessary arrangements, and this will now, however, take place in the first quarter of 2022. The OPEC Secretariat, the Secretary General says, will continue to work closely with the Ministry of Oil of Iraq to assure all the necessary logistical and preparatory requirements are arranged. While soliciting the understanding of member nations for this postponement, the OPEC Secretary General says OPEC looks forward to seeing all in Iraq come early 2022. The Nigerian Navy ship NNS Victory Calabar has handed over to the Nigeria Customs Service 3 suspects, 1,209 bags of seized smuggled foreign parboiled rice and 56 empty drums and 1 wooden boat. At the official handover, Nigerians are being advised to stay away from illegal businesses to avoid incurring unnecessary losses. And the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has reported 393 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. A breakdown of the figures indicates that 190,901 have been treated and discharged, while 202,191 is the total number of confirmed cases so far in the country. 121 cases were recorded in the FCT, which is the highest for the day, followed by Lagos, recording 86, Edo 70, Delta follows with 30 new cases, Rivers 24, and others include Plateau, recording 16 new cases, and 11 in Cross River, while Abia States records 8 new cases. Bayelsa and Gombe States record 4, Bauchi, Kano 3, and Adamawa State has 2. A single case was also recorded in Taraba State. And it should be noted that Taraba's figure represents a backlog of 1 confirmed case for Saturday, 18th of September. Well, that's the news update for now. Do join us later on for more news coming up at 1. I'm Dennis Adigunloye. Good morning.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hello and welcome everyone to Insights. I am Nnamdi Adigbo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori.
On this episode of the program, we will be taking a rather expansive look at the imperatives for national unity and social integration. But of course, just before we get to that, I would recall an interview I had with the Senate Committee Chairman on Media and Publicity, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola, on the values or democratic values in Nigeria. Of course, that's against the clamor for constitutional reforms. Lizzie?
Well, on the media review segment, we'll be taking a look at the style of writing and reporting gender-based violence without shaming the victim and protecting the perpetrator.
Let's get started, but of course, like I referenced earlier, I would begin with recalling my conversation with Senator Ajibola. Senator, we were still in the ambience of the 2021 Democracy Day. And so it will be significant for us to begin our conversation from that angle. At this point of our democratic experience and journey, and knowing that in relative terms to other democracies, ours may still be considered nascent, do you however believe that we're on the right trajectory and that democratic ideals are deep-rooted in our society today?
I will say that on the question of being on the right trajectory, definitely I would say yes. But about whether it is already deep-rooted, I would say we are not yet there. But we are on the right track to definitely get there. I will say this because it has just been since 1999 that we have uninterrupted democratic experience in Nigeria. And of course, there are always building blocks to democratic experience. One of these has to do with the rule of law, independence of judiciary. We also talk of the freedom of the press and freedom of association, as well as credible election that will be free and fair. Those are part of the parameter by which you can begin to assess ourselves, know where we have fared very well, and where we have challenges in confronting and moving forward in that regard.
Using some of the parameters that you've just outlined, is it possible for you to give us an idea of where you think we stand?
I will start first with the leadership recruitment mechanism for democratic process, which has to do with the organization of election. I would say that unlike what happened at the beginning of democratic experience, particularly the electoral acts of 2006 and 2007 election, 2003, I think we are getting there gradually as to having credible election. But I also think in this regard, the effort of the present Net Assembly on having an amended electoral act need to be further expedited upon so that the rule of the game ahead of 2023 election will be no ahead. But we still need to do more, particularly in the area of voters inducement, in the area of violence during election, and of course in the area of reduction of monetization of a democratic process. On the issue of freedom of speech, largely we have made some advances in that regard. But just like any other human right, there are also possible of abuse. So while there has always been a tension between the government trying to regulate freedom of speech in the interest of security, there is also the possible abuse of freedom of speech on the part of citizens. And this, we need to talk about the phenomenon of fake news and unnecessary propaganda, which are capable of undermining the fabric of our society. So then on issue of freedom of association, I think likely we have done very well in this regard. People are free to form political association and political party, and they are free to join and be member of those political parties. But then there have been some distortions, which is affecting the quality of our democratic experience. And in this regard, I will talk about the so-called idea of internal democracy within a political party. The idea as a bastardized ideological stance of political party. The classical idea of a political party is a group of people having some ideals and some programs on what they want to project, and they want to make to be their program for the people. But when you now make it compulsory that all political parties must have a uniform arrangement for the emergence of their leadership. And I'll give an example. An ideological political party, you want to feed a candidate because of the grandness of a particular person in the ideology of the party. The person may not have necessary wherewithal to be able to even mobilize the people in that regard. And they may want to put in their best looking at their own set parameter. But with this idea of so-called internal democracy, it undermines ideological content of our democratic experience. And the people are in a position in the general election to judge if a party had chosen a candidate that is not popular, to reject such candidates, but to have a double level of what is called democracy, internal democracy, and general election, it is costly and also undermine ideological content and stance of political organizations.
Senator, while you were talking about the issue of monetization of the democratic process, of course you meant the elections there, it just occurred to me that there have been arguments in the past, I mean, people pushing the blame to the political class, that in fact it's the function of the grandstanding and gerrymandering obtainable within the system that is responsible for the monetization of the political process. Is this an argument you vary or agree with?
I think it's not. I see every evil in the political process are easily laid at the doorstep of the political class, understandably so. But we must have a broader understanding and perspective of this if we are going to be able to stem the tide, or to stem the tide of the challenges. One, I would say that voter education and voter enlightenment is also very crucial.
Very true.
The question of monetization has both the demand and the supply side. As an experienced politician, and I say it with all sense of humility, I've been in public service for a period of close to 12 years. I know that notwithstanding the delivery you must have done, if you don't have the necessary resources to oil your political machinery, you may well be rejected by the same set of the people that you are out to serve. So there's a need to deepen our democratic culture, to deepen enlightenment, and of course there's also the need to further empower our people so that those mundane things that are used to induce them will no longer matter to them. And what I mean by this, we need economic empowerment of our people for them to engage in product activity. And when they are economically empowered, economically energized, those pittances that are used to induce them will not matter.
Exactly.
But you need to deepen understanding of of democratic culture and what is required.
I agree with you entirely on that front, Senator. I mean, it is important to promote economic reliance and dependence, and that way it would also curb incidents of monetization of the democratic process. But Senator, let's quickly go ahead here. And when we talk democracy or enhancing democracy, it's clear that the Constitution not only remains fundamental, but it is also key to achieving that. I'm sure you've expressed your view on the ongoing constitutional amendment process on other platforms. I mean, it's been there in the public domain. However, I'd like for us to backtrack a little and appraise the foundation of our current constitution as a written document and subsequently as an object of governance. Where do you stand as regards that and the argument that the problem with the current constitution emanates from the source? And by that, critics often argue that it was not democratically agreed upon, even though we know that later on the Fourth National Assembly chose to adopt the document as Nigerian's constitution after it was inaugurated in '99. What is your thought and opinion on all of this?
You see, in commenting on the Nigerian constitution, we must make a difference between politically sentimental assertions and deep understanding of constitutional making process.
Can we remove the sentiments totally from all that is happening within the polity?
Yes, I want to get. I'm laying a basis for my intervention.
Okay.
And by my intervention, what I mean is that we must make a clear distinction between sentimental political assertions, which are for political gains, and a deep introspective analysis of the trajectory of our constitutional development. And it is the latter that will give us a clear roadmap as to where we are going. Anything predicated on sentiments, on emotions, will only lead to a perverted conclusion. And I will say this, that the 1999 Constitution is nothing but a regurgitation of the 1979 Constitution. If there is any difference between the 1979 and 1979 Constitution, it will be possibly less than 7.5%, if I'm right. So if you are making criticism of 1999 Constitution, those criticisms also apply to 1979 Constitution. But there's a difference between letters of Constitution and spirit of Constitution. I would say first and foremost, the constitutions are not either being followed to the letter There is also no spirit of constitutionalism. That is a major problem. No matter how well drafted a constitution is done, if the letter and the spirit is not followed, you cannot get results. Then secondly, as to the provenance of the 1999 constitution, it is true it was put in place by a military decree. But in legal theory, there is a theory of the ground norm, which means that in any society, there must be a fundamental legal basis upon which other legality will follow. And as of today, the ground norm in Nigeria is 1999 constitution by virtue of Section 1. So for you to emanate a fresh new legal system, is either two way. Is either you follow the existing procedure of the existing legal system, in which case Section 9 of the 1999 constitution, or you carry out an insurrectionary revolution by which you uproot the entire system. Those are the two options that we have. And of course, all of us know the disruptive and the dangerous effects of going by way of outright revolution. So my own take is that even within the context of the 1999 constitution, there is no form of amendment that we want to do that we cannot do so far we have the necessary consensus of the requisite threshold as stipulated in the constitution. And what is the threshold? 4/5 of the members of the National Assembly,
2/3,
and 2/3 of the state assembly.
Yes.
So my understanding is that the constitutional review effort being done currently by the next Senate has not given any limitation. There's no no-go area. So people who feel strongly that there is a need to fundamentally restructure Nigeria are free to come up with memoranda and mobilize the requisite support to be able to do so. In the National Assembly, for instance, in the Senate, you need 88 senators to support any form of amendment. And an amendment, by my understanding of the law, could include substitution. So there's nothing in the 1999 Constitution that says you cannot substitute. There's nothing that says you cannot even go by way of unitarism. There's nothing that says you cannot go back to regionalism. There's nothing that says you cannot alter allocation of constitutional power. The only requirement is that you comply with Section 9, by which you have 4/5 of the member of the National Assembly and 2/3 of the State Assembly resolution supporting such amendment. So we must make a distinction between political statements and just making it to undermine the existing structure without any foresight as to how we can even go forward and achieve our aim. I'm an avowed supporter of devolution of power and genuine federalism in Nigeria, and I've never hesitated to say it. But of course, my own feeling will not suffice. I will need to convince majority of Nigerians as represented in the National Assembly to agree with my idea, and that is the essence of democratic experience.
You know, Senator Bashiru, I cannot agree more with you. And I know, like most of us know, a majority of Nigerians are aspirational. And that aligns with the general expectation and anticipated outcome of the current efforts at having a more participatory constitution that's people-driven now. At this point, what aspect of the reforms, you talked about devolution of power, and that spiked my interest. At this point, what aspect of the reforms that some areas are even more imperative in terms of timing, like the electoral reforms? We know we have an election coming up in 2023, and there are others that are equally, they are equally needed and expedient that would help in calming frail nerves. I do know, of course, that the process is vast and that areas being considered also are quite large. But where are you most optimistic and, that changes might begin to happen or might happen this time around?
Be very honest with you, I cannot, using my own feeling, determine what the train of thoughts of other members.
I know that. I am just asking you a personal question. Actually,
will be the thinking of the majority. But if I will talk about my own expectation, and I stated at the plenary on Wednesday when we are considering our assessment for 2 years that I'm in a somewhat vantageous position to speak as to the expectations of Nigerians from the National Assembly, being the spokesperson of the Nigerian Senate and being interfacing with the people, both journalists and non-journalists. The expectation of Nigeria is that the Constitution must address the issue of devolution of power.
Exactly.
We must unbundle many of the legislative powers given to the National Assembly and ipso facto the National Executive. we must also look at the cost of governance as part of the process of moving forward. A situation whereby 5.9 trillion of a 13.8 trillion budget is used for the purpose of recurrent expenditure would not augur well for development. People are also concerned, and I said, I'm also personally concerned about the leadership production mechanism through our electoral process. And I believe, as the Senate President, Dr. Ahmed Lawal, said, before we proceed on our summer recess, we should be able to complete the process of enactment of a new electoral act, and of course, complete our work on the 1999 Constitutional Amendment and pass it on for return in the State Assembly. So I'm optimistic that this year will be an eventful year that will be a harvest of some of those legislative and constitutional reform.
Distinguished, I know you talked about you talked about restructuring earlier on when we were, in the course of our conversation. I'd like to go back to that issue and talk about a bit on the clamor for restructuring. And there are several descriptions out there on the likely, outlook or what the restructuring will be. What's your thoughts on this? Put that against the Constitution, Nigerian's Constitution at independence, and how it operated with the devolution of power as at that time to the regions, and now the regions, it also made allusions, or in fact, not just allusions, but specifically, depicted and showed how fiscal federalism, I beg your pardon, would take place. Put that, against each other, and please speak to the issue of restructuring in your own view now.
I think we must look at it from the point of view of, one, the structure of our government. At independence, the understanding of the founding fathers is we should have a federal system of government. The simple answer is that today, I don't believe that we have a federal system of government. What we have is a constitution in name federal, but in reality unitary. And both in terms of allocation of constitutional powers, by which more than 66 items are enumerated on the exclusive legislative list, including mundane issues as registration of business name, copyrights, and so on and so forth, marriages, and there's some other items that are actually fitted for the federating units. Secondly, we also have what I would call a situation whereby the federating units have become atrophied because of the division and subdivision to the 36 structure that we have. The reality is that as of today, if not for allocation from federal government, largely more than 90% of this, so-called federating units cannot even be able to pay the salary of their workers.
And as a prelude to our next conversation, I would like to bring you a teaser, just to give you an idea of what's to come.
Nigeria dai ƙasa ce wanda Allah ya shirya sa ta masaniyansa. Wato muna da Hausa, muna da Igbo, muna da Yoruba, wannan dai su ne manyan yare da muke da su. Kuma ina ganin cewa an muka haɗa kai muka zauna lafiya zai fi mana. Saboda Allah ne wannan shirin ba mutum ba ne. Kuma da yardan Allah in muka yi haka za mu fi cin gaba. So ina ndị otu anyị bụ Igbo, because mụ ọnụ nwe mbụkwa onye Igbo by virtue of na amụ m ebe a ka anyị tinyekọta isi anyị ọnụ ka anyị bili n'udo. Ọ nwere ebe eji nsogbu eje nọ na ike nke Chukwu ka o ji wee kee anyị otu ahụ, ka onye Hausa, ka onye Igbo, ka onye Yoruba, si anyị ka anyị bili n'udo. So and enwe m olileanya na anyị tinye njikọta ọnụ together that Nigeria ga-abụ obodo ọma.
My next set of guests are as intriguing as they come. She is popularly known as the Queen Mother, Mama Diaspora. She's Chief Amina Temitope Ajayi. Welcome to Insight, ma'am.
Thanks.
I also have a journalist, public relations practitioner, and political economist, Dr. Abubakar Jimoh, here with me in the studio. Welcome to Insight.
Yeah, thank you.
First off, I must congratulate you on your unveiling as the brand ambassador for NTA. Congratulations.
Yeah, we thank God.
If I recall correctly, you were selected based on your penchant and zeal for national unity, patriotism, and I must say unbiased representation of Nigeria and our national values, particularly abroad. In your opinion, how important has it become for us as a people to have a united front and collectively stand against that which stands against our continued existence as a nation?
Yeah, you see, it's hard because let's take a deep breath. Let's take a sense of, there's no nation in the world. You can never see any, they are all united. Is it United Kingdom? Is it United States of America? Is it Paris? Is it Germany? Even Ghana. Nobody talks about religion. Nobody talks about race. Everybody is one. I'm praying as a mother because it's eating me up. Because of my future. The generation yet unborn. This idea, I'm this, you are that, should be erased. That's why God will bless the Nigerian government for this National Youth Service Corps. They are together. They don't know religion. They don't know tribe or race, gender. They are all one. When we are one, we're very strong. They say united we stand, divided we fall. You see, I keep on saying it. My life is for the young adult. I love them. They call me Mama. Now they're calling me Mama Mieti. I love them. I don't want my country to burn. I don't want this thing to be transferred or transcended to the next generation.
Well, I must agree. Of course, I'm sure the responsibility of moving this country forward falls on all of us. And Dr. Jimoh, I am curious about your position on, rather where you stand, because there's been this argument as to where or how much so the elite has contributed to the continued division in the country. I mean, along ethnic lines and nationalities. I don't know if you're aware of the recent comments attributed to the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, where he referenced the elite not playing its part or doing just as much, to bring Nigerians together. Is this an argument that you concur with and agree with?
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, as a political scientist, a journalist, a public relations practitioner, I think the Vice President hit the nail on the head straight away. It takes a lot of courage because it's also part of the national elite. We are all elites, political elites, the religious elites. I want to say, without any fear of contradiction, that most of the problems we have eating up the polity is generated and caused by the Nigerian elite. If you look at the ordinary, for the poor masses at the grassroots level, they are doing their businesses, relating, cohabiting, coexisting. We do have this tradition where there's an ordinary disagreement between the elites and they decide to recruit the masses and whip up sentiment here and there. It could be religious, it could be political. So the elites are at the heart. The elites are the heart of the problem we have. And also, to a large extent, they are also going to be part of the solution. So that is why I'm very happy that the Vice President has given a clarion call for all of us to stand up. The Nigerian political elite, the religious elite, everybody, all hands must be on deck for us to search for peace, to seek for peace, and involved in the peace-building process. Because without peace, there can never be any national unity. And without national unity, there can never be development.
Let me take you up on the first question that I asked Mama Diaspora on how imperative and how urgent it has become for us to have a common front, I beg your pardon, in the quest to remain one. I mean, seeing all that is happening, the simmering tension, prolonged division and suspicion of one another, and all of that. How important does it become for us at this point in time to present a common front and, send the message that indeed, yes, we're from different tribes and religions, but we're still one?
Yeah, we must come. What the Vice President was saying is that all the elites, everybody must come out of the ethnic trenches that we have fallen into in the recent time. We need to come out of the ethnic trenches and forge a common front. Those bonds that actually held us together yesteryears, before now we started having all these kind of falciparous tendencies, centripetal and centrifugal forces rising up and coming. Some are driven by selfish interest, not altruistic motive. So the Vice President's call is very germane, and it's for all of us. And that was why I'm very grateful that I'm appearing on this program, because the issue of national peace is an assignment for all of us. We need to involve in the peace-building process and find a common front. The federal government, over the years, as a student of politics, has tried its best in bringing all the building blocks of national unity, that things that actually can unite us. And that was why I am very happy that Mama Diaspora made reference to the issue of national, to the NYSC, which dated back almost 48 years ago. And that has been a very strong, unique selling point for Nigeria to forge national unity. We had, there was also the introduction of federal character. Also, there has been a conscious and concerted effort on the part of government to forge a common front to foster cohesion. Because without cohesion, there can never be, without unity, there can never be progress, there can never be development. So to that extent, for every concerned citizen, Nigerian, we must ascribe to the process of forging national unity and peace in the country. I'm very excited that you have brought this topic to the fore.
Yeah, and of course,
it is quite germane and topical now.
Yes.
It is the hottest commodity in town. Issue of peace and national unity, the challenge, the quest for peace and national unity. We have never had a tribe movement more than now, before now. So this is the greatest point for us to be on deck and for us to continuously search for peace.
Well, Mama Diaspora, you are from a generation where, I mean, you are Yoruba, I mean, and just only recently you were recognized by a group from the north. I mean, you're from a generation that understands our history, that knows where we're coming from, that knows a bit about just how bad it is to fight and what it means and how important it is to get over that and to move and forge ahead as a people. When you see some of what's been playing out in across the Federation, how does it make you feel? And what message would you like to give to young persons who are being used as agents of, to cause troubles and crises in parts of Nigeria? What's the message you'd like to give to them? And of course, those using these persons as minions as well.
You see, this is divine. I think the Almighty God is ready to wipe away the tears of all the Nigerians, especially my young adult. Peace, unity, prosperity, and economic development, they are all interwoven. To my greatest shock, the president of the Meeti Allah, Dr. Badijo, he said, Mama, he said, I'm married to an Ogbomoso woman. I said, give me a break. Ogbomoso. He called his wife, Yoruba. Money Yoruba, only Mama, Yoruba, ni mi omo Ogbomoso. What?
That means in English that I'm Yoruba, I'm from Ogbomoso. I mean, just for the benefit of those who do not understand Yoruba.
The young lady that cooks in his house is an Igbo young lady. In his office. In his office, I saw Igbo. I saw everybody there, all happy. Maybe because they are young adults. In that office of the Meeti Allah, I don't think they even know what is called tribe. No tribe. I saw them, I was astonished. I said, what is going on? Oh Lord, is this what you brought me here to see? Because going there is divine. What I saw there tears was coming down my eyes. Then it gave me nostalgia. I think maybe we should go back to our former national anthem. Nigeria, we hail thee, our home and our mother's land, native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And I always add another one, whether woman or a man, because I don't want them to say, oh, she's a woman, or he's a man. You see, my generation, my children, I'm appealing to you. Forget about this. Embrace yourself. You guys are smart. The future is in your hand. Don't fight again.
I'll just jump in there now so we don't leave Dr. Jimo, for too long idling.
When I talk about my younger daughter, I'm emotional.
That's understandable. That's understandable. Of course, some of the issues that Mama Diaspora has raised are relatable. Dr. Jimo, you would agree with me. It's peace is integral, and there's no development without peace. Or is there an alternative to peace?
Obviously, there's no alternative to peace. Peace is an integral part of national development. It's part of the development matrix. For us to develop, we need peace, and we need national unity. We need cohesion. What has been happening recently as a communicator, I believe there is too much abysmal gap of mutual incomprehension between various ethnic divides. People misunderstanding what I may call a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy and stereotyping. And once we indulge in stereotyping, before you meet somebody, you already have an idea, a fixated idea of how the person is going to behave. That self-fulfilling prophecy and stereotyping is not helping matter. We need to shy away from that. It's also eating up the politics. So if you have certain ethnic groups have been configured to behave in certain ways. And there are some expectations before you even, and the heart-rending aspect of this is that the younger ones are also getting into the ethnic trenches. The elites are dragging everybody into the ethnic trenches. Because the political elites, why are we very important, the religious elites, is we show the way forward. We offer leadership. And the people...
So invariably, we're sowing a culture, that would not benefit us in the long term. If we do not break this culture, it becomes systemic, and then it becomes part of us, and it may be difficult to break eventually. At this point, what do we do? We have a program on national reorientation. Mama Diaspora practically just, I don't know, she just read out the national anthem.
Yeah.
What do we do at this point to break out of that circle? Pardon me, but we keep talking about the problem. How about the solutions here?
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead first. Okay, Dr. Jimo, we'll take you and then we'll come back.
We need, basically,
yes,
we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
Certain things have been put in place to strengthen national unity and integration. We just talked about NYC.
Yes.
We talked about the federal character.
Yes.
We talked about so many other things that have been already incorporated, even our social studies as we're growing up in the school. So we need to go back to them, make them work. All those building blocks of national unity and national integration, we are not inventing the way. Let it work.
How about the Nigerians?
Again, another important...
Sorry, Dr. Jimo. Yeah, okay, please land on that point. Yes.
Aspect of the issue of national integration and national peace. We must strive towards social justice.
Okay.
We must strive towards fairness, equity.
Okay.
Even people are agitating, they want to go to a separate way. It will solve matters. Atomization, dismembering the nation is not the answer. Even if you divide and bifurcate the nation into families and call them nations, and call them states, it will help matter once social justice, equity, and fairness is missing. It's a basic ingredient of national unity.
Please go ahead.
So this is where political elites, religious elites, everybody must strive towards ensuring that it's not only the job of government. And people say government, who is government? We are part of government. Government of the people, for the people, and by the people. To that extent, by extension, we are part of government. So the idea, there's also another dangerous trend whereby there's a high level of suspicion. Government comes out with a very lofty policy. People begin, before it realizes it's already dead on arrival, people are beginning to attack it, people are beginning to into it. Let's, for a while, give peace chance. Let's come to the round table and dialogue. We need to judge or not to war. So that is exactly the clear message that we need to, that I think the Vice President is communicating.
Great. You wanted to add something earlier, Ma. Please go ahead.
Yes, you see, thank God I'm in front of the whole world right now. I want to appeal to our Baba, the President. He should start giving young adult political posts. I see their intellectual property. Maybe they should even create a ministry of entrepreneurship.
There's a ministry for youth that encourages such ventures and entrepreneurship and all that.
Sports.
And there's also the Not Too Young to Rule Act. I mean, it's a law already and it's enforced.
Maybe they should start employing them.
Well, that's something else. It's the point is sometimes
political appointments.
For me, and this is a personal opinion that I hold, I think the ball is now in the courts of young persons or young adults, among diaspora, as you've said repeatedly, to now play their part. Because I think the two has been, I mean, if you have the two, why not go there and show us what you've got? The bill is there, the environment has been created. Maybe they are not just taking advantage of it, or is the environment choking them? I mean, well, I don't know. Dr. Juma, would you like to say something about that?
Well, I think from my own interaction with youth, because I superintend over a department that relates with the youth, particularly the youth corps, the NYSC.
Okay.
I've seen energy. I've seen I've seen energy and zeal and determination and high level of patriotism.
Okay.
All these youth wants is to be galvanized into the task of nation building. People are yearning to work. People want to work. I have several applications with me now. People are looking for CVs, over 500. With me, people are yearning to work. People come to me day in, day out and say, okay, even if it's to clean somewhere, I want to clean. And that was why I was very happy when the Honorable Minister of State for Labour and Productivity, my dear friend, the Honorable Minister Festus Kiamo, brought the idea of the very visionary idea of creating jobs for local government. There are people who have not actually worked in their lives. And they want to work, they want to test it, they want to know what working for government, what is like social work. That was very, very impressive. And government has so many other products, Empower, so many other projects that have been lined up. But we need to social market them. Not many people are aware. Not many people know. Do we need to social market?
I can assure you that there are thousands of beneficiaries. Dr. Jimmy, thousands of them, hundreds of thousands, as a matter of fact.
Talent that are seen well, they know about it quite all right, but how to access it is also a major hindrance. Yep. So government cannot give job to everybody.
Of course.
To that extent,
that is why government encourages entrepreneurship and
anybody, private sector organization, bodies who want to come into.
We're totally out of time now, but just before I let you go, I'd like for both of you to drop your parting words on the imperatives for national unity and social cohesion. I'll begin with you, Mama Diaspora. Just briefly and quickly.
Yeah. My appeal is to our president. If he can appoint 3 youths, a Yoruba, a Hausa, a Fulani, and Indigo, they will love him. If you know how to deal with young adults, they are babies. They will do anything they want. They will feel he wants them into the opinion. Put them on the table. What do you think? Use their brain. Use their intellectual property. The government will be shocked.
Thank you so much.
The solution for this country.
Dr. Juma, real quick, please.
Yeah, my parting word is that our cultural diversity and political diversity is our strength. The unity of these peoples we cannot trade it off. We are giant of Africa today because of our population size, because of our landmass, and which is to the envy of some other countries. So we need to tenaciously hold to that. So the indivisibility of this country is not negotiable. and we must all work towards achieving that, sustaining that. That is my party work.
I want to thank you both for coming on this program. It's been an interesting conversation with both of you. Queen Mother, popularly known as Mama Diaspora. I mean, she's one known across the Federation. I want to thank you so much for coming, Chief Amina Temitokwe Ajayi. Thank you so much for coming on Insight. Journalist, public relation practitioner, and Dr. Abubakar Jimo. I also want to thank you so much for your insights on this very delicate, quite important subject matter as well. Thank you so much for coming on Insight.
Thank you. Great opportunity. Thank you.
I love you all.
Elizabeth Amori is up next with the Media Review segment.
Gender-based violence prevention initiatives seek to facilitate change by addressing the underlying causes and drivers of violence against women and girls. To assess the impact of gender-based violence on the victim and society, the media cannot be ignored. Media reporting on sexual and other forms of gender-based violence facilitates advocacy with decision makers and communities to ensure protection of the vulnerable in society. How do we protect the victim while gathering facts to put an end to the menace? My guest, Ladi Bala, President, Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, will provide insight. Mrs. Ladi, thank you so much for coming on Insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, reporting gender-based violence is a serious aspect of journalism because it involves investigation. Could you tell us the roles involved in reporting such cases?
As journalists, we really have a role to play when reporting such issues because it's important. We are dealing with somebody that has been violated and that person is going through some traumatic kind of experience. So as a journalist, when you are to report such issues, you must not concentrate on the identity or privacy of the victim or survivors and don't pry into the privacy of that person. Your concern is around the issue. You must make sure that you cover all the angles to the incident. But the identity of the survivor is very important when reporting it. You don't mention the person's name as name. You may talk about the age, but describing even where the person lives is another problem. Just concentrate on the issue. Rather, the person that you need to really open up about his or her identity is the perpetrator. Because we have come to the point that we are now saying that perpetrators must be named and shamed. It's very important we do that. Even while we wait for, we trust the legal system to do the needful. But I believe that as media and journalists, we need to name and shame these perpetrators. They are the ones that we should expose their identity, what they do for a living, and their state of mind and why they get themselves involved, why we believe that they get themselves involved in this kind of nefarious activities. But the identity of the victim and survivor must be protected by the journalists when reporting such issues.
When reporting such issues, well, over the years, I think it's all about shaming the victim and covering the perpetrator. How do we correct this anomaly?
When we talk about sexual and gender-based violence, we are not just talking about the rape issue. There are so many issues that surround gender-based violence. We have people that have been physically violated, emotionally, psychologically. People are going through a lot. And then most of these perpetrators are people that are very close to them, you know. So why do you now focus on the victim? Why not focus on the perpetrator? So, but how do you go about it? We say there must be a strategic way of reporting these issues, and journalists must understand this perspective, and they must understand the gender issues. What are the gender issues? How do you present gender issues in such a compelling way, you know, when putting your story, that it will elicit the right response from stakeholders, as well as give that survivor the confidence, you know, that they can move on. the survivors, they can move on with their lives, you know, while these issues are being looked into by the court of law. So that is why we organized the training yesterday, and we brought experts, you know, to discuss these issues. We brought somebody from the civil society, a gender activist that's, you know, spoke to journalists on how best, you know, they can report this issue. We also brought the national president of FIDA, who also exposed journalists on those windows, you know, that can be explored to get justice for the survivors. So these are the effort we are actually making to see, because our people need to have the skills. When you don't have the skill and you lack the capacity, to me, it's a sensitive area, and it should be a specialized area of reporting. And so people need to understand the kind of language they will use and how they present the story, because the media is all about, journalists is a storyteller. So how do you tell your story in such a way? You know, how do you tell your story in such a way that you don't cause harm, you know, to the person that you are trying to protect? So these are what we are trying to do, and we started it just yesterday. We trained over 40 gender journalists within Abuja, and then gender activists, and we hope to replicate such training across the 36 states. Currently, we're trying to enter into partnership with FIDA, because FIDA is a reliable partner in this issue, on this issue of sexual and gender-based violence. So we need their expertise, and because they come to tell us what windows to explore when reporting such issues, so that as a journalist you don't run yourself into trouble, because we are dealing with legal issues here. So the national president of FIDA was at hand. You know, she provided us with all those insights, and I believe that for those that got the training yesterday, I'm sure when they put out their stories there, we'll certainly see some difference in addressing these issues.
Interesting. Now, before I take you on the issue of confidentiality, shaming the victims seems to be a societal issue. Why is this so?
We need to redefine, you know, what constitutes news. We must not assume the coloration of the norms and culture of the society when we are reporting, because it's a stereotype. People always believe that the woman is to be blamed in every situation, which shouldn't be so. Let's look at the validity of the issues, the incident, what really happened. Let's talk about the perpetrator rather than the victim. It's a societal issue, like you rightly mentioned, but I think we just have to go around it and correct that abnormally. As far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be so. We always have two people in a crime. For crying out loud, when we are talking about rape or sexual violence, it's something that has been done against somebody's consent, against somebody's will. What about that 3-month-old girl, you know, that somebody just violated sexually? What has that girl done? And why should you concentrate on her? But even if you are going to report such issue, we should talk about the effect of that damage upon the life of that girl, but not to expose her identity. You can say, okay, a 3-month-old girl has been violated by so person, you know, and then you concentrate more on the person, but you talk about the impact of that upon the life of the girl, the psychological impact, the trauma that girl will go through, you know, the stigma. I know for some they hardly recover. For those that are already maybe a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, you hear the testimony of people that have gone through this kind of experience. The trauma is more or less like a lifelong, you know, experience. They don't forget it completely. They hardly forget it. It always comes back.
And now, looking at confidentiality again, it is actually an aspect of reportage of this nature that cannot be ignored. But how do we protect the interest of the victim?
What will make a survivor to open up to you and describe what really happened and who was involved is when you have assured that survivor that his or her identity will be concealed, that you will not go beyond saying what you are expected to say, that you will not expose that person to another attack. One of the reason why survivors don't talk is because sometimes the perpetrators will still come after them or come after their family when they know that they are not exposed and that they are likely not to go scot-free. They find a way of getting back to the victim or the victim's family. And again, some people don't really want that because they believe that the issue could just go viral and then the life of either their daughter or their son will be in limbo, because society may want to make jest of them, eventually people do such things. So we talk. It's important as journalists and as media practitioners, we take that into consideration anytime we are reporting such issues. We should conceal. That's why I keep saying that the identity and the privacy of the survivor must be concealed. But for that of the perpetrator, will have to find a way around it to expose that person without necessarily putting the survivor's life at risk. So it is a whole lot of there are a whole lot of challenges around the issues, but I know there are issues that are surmountable, and when we all are ready to face this monster, called sexual and gender-based violence in our society, I strongly believe that we'll overcome.
We'll overcome.
Yeah.
Ladibala, President, National Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, thank you so much for your contributions on Insights.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. I want to use this opportunity to thank NTA for doing a great job in promoting, in speaking against sexual and gender-based violence. I hope other media organizations across the country will borrow a lead from NTA. It is our collective responsibility, and we must all rise up against it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's it on this episode of the program. Do join us same time next week for more on Insight. I'm Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Do say something when you say something. We'll see you next week.
Did you get to see the way Telebabadu pulls this?
Don't forget to send in your messages.
There's a difference between picking, child, and issue.
That is this. Can do more with less people.
If we have a better way of addressing these issues, taking care of...
Congratulations, you were able to sign Tino Werner from RB Leipzig.
So you take water before your workout.
People have used their phone, using TikTok to do this.
Should I go protest?
A lot of people don't even have resources.
I'm Cecil, and this is the Medley Show on NTA.
This vaccine is safe, and it has been certified safe and usable by NAFTA.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Talking Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder. No.
Stop it! Welcoming you to your weekend for today.
Arise, O compatriots. It's time to use our voice.
Beyond Six Packs.
Bills.
Pay the bills. Keep paying my telephone bills. Keep paying my bills.
Welcome to Gallery.
Me and
my paddies.
London for what?
London for medicine.
Medicine for what?
Medicine for coffee.
Are you sickness?
To our illness. Welcome to Gist Zone.
All right, my name is the Eselusien Wego One. Ona nyokoko nyonyo.
In recent times, world peace has come under different threats of natural disaster, war, poverty, hunger, inequality, and climate change, among others. While these threats have now become the norm in some parts of the world, some have found different ways to coexist despite these raging challenges. To live above the global harsh realities faced by many, the United Nations in September 1981 declared that September 21 be set aside to celebrate International Peace Day annually. The day aims at promoting peaceful coexistence and seek ways out of hostility among nations amid insecurity challenges and cessation threats. Nigerian government is not folding its arms as she has engaged in series of strategies to propagate peace and morals among the citizenry in the quest to build a better and thriving society. As the country joins the rest of the world to celebrate the day, it is a call to all to stand against acts of hate speech online and offline and spread of fake news, to entrench compassion, kindness, and hope for a prosperous nation. What more can the country give to achieve this? This is our focus on Panorama today, coming to you live from the Lagos Network Center of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Adeola Komiakere. Authorities in Sudan alleged a coup attempt on Tuesday by a group of soldiers, but said the attempt failed and that the military remains in control. A military officer said an unspecified number of troops from the armored corps were behind the attempt and that they tried to take over several government institutions but were stopped in their tracks. Reports coming from Khartoum, the Sudanese capital, said many troops, including high-ranking officers, have been arrested. The ruling military-civilian council in a state television called on the public to counter the attempt and remain calm. Sudan has been on a fragile path to democratic rule since the military's ouster of the country's longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir in April 2019, following 4 months of mass protests. The country is now ruled by a joint civilian and military government that faces towering economic and security challenges. All is now set for the commencement of general debate by world leaders at the ongoing 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Consequently, President Muhammadu Buhari has convened a strategic meeting with Nigeria's delegation to the annual event. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Apart from the ministers on the President's delegation, the National Security Advisor and the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, the meeting was also attended by Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Professor Muhammad Tijani Bande. It was an opportunity for the President to be brought up to speed on what to expect at the global event and compare notes on Nigeria's strategy towards achieving a successful outing. President Muhammadu Buhari will be addressing the largest gathering of the world leaders on Friday.
So what we'll see from this is Nigeria's vision, Mr. President's global vision, and then on key issues of priority. So, you know, things like the development, where we are with that, with the climate change, with security, with women empowerment, what we're doing in support of that, and you know, good governance, anti-corruption, illicit, you know, financial flows, and restitution of funds. Then also reform of the United Nations itself and Nigeria's position on that. And also just to show the efforts that we are making in Nigeria, change the narrative. You know, we feel that the narrative is not always fair to Mr. President and to Nigeria, and to put forward also the fact of the challenges we're facing in our country, and a very honest attempt, and also very successful in many areas to address all those national challenges that we're facing, so that the world can see that Nigeria is a responsible member of the global community and a leader in many ways.
But before his address to the General Assembly, the President is expected to participate in some high-level meetings targeted at achieving food and sustainable energy for all. He is also scheduled to hold bilateral talks with a number of world leaders and heads of international development organizations.
This is what I always talk about when I talk about Mr. President as one of the strongest brands that we have in Nigeria. A lot of leaders want to meet with him. And again, this is part of the Buhari doctrine of engagement and positive and constructive engagement with all countries. So we cannot take all the leaders. There's just not enough time. So, you know, it's a representative sample of the world that want to meet with him and to discuss bilateral relations and other issues of common interest.
About 100 heads of state and government are already in New York for the high-level engagements at this year's General Assembly. From New York, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And still on the UN, statistics from International Labour Organization shows that 54 million women lost their jobs between 2019 and 2020 due to caregiving crisis occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic. Uche Ugochukwu reports that the sidelines of the 76th UN General Assembly in New York and champions of gender equality tabled actionable solutions.
COVID-19 pandemic negatively affected women in all spheres. Many are out of jobs, and there are projections that 2 million more will lose their jobs this 2021. These gender equality champions are worried that despite these challenges, only 11% of policies globally address women's unpaid care at work as countries boost social protection, while saying that COVID-19 pandemic has slowed down telecom progress of efforts aimed at achieving the 2030 target of the Sustainable Development Goals.
The gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls is integral to all priorities. It is, in fact, the key priority in all our development efforts. To recover from COVID-19, or to accelerate and achieve the SDGs, or to ensure peaceful, prosperous societies.
They suggested that as countries gradually move from COVID-19 response to recovery, they should invest more in good social protection programs for women, caregiving, and data collection, so as to get a full and just economy.
We need to look at this barrier and figure out what is good policy that can help women with that unpaid care so that they can do what they want and return to their jobs.
The panelists are of the view that efforts at ensuring gender equality must be prioritized for the world to achieve a holistic economic recovery. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Nigerians from diverse backgrounds from across the United States have staged a peaceful protest in New York against those fanning the embers of disunity and destabilization in the country. Under the auspices of One Nigeria group, the people made a case for genuine support for the Buhari presidency in its effort at achieving national unity, stability, and sustainable future for all. State House correspondent Damusambo reports that the peaceful protesters gathered at Nigerian House in Manhattan, New York. They carried placards and banners with various inscriptions to drive home their support efforts at making Nigeria greater by the present administration. The group, led by Hassan Jibia, said
One Nigeria, stronger together, stronger together. One Nigeria, one Nigeria, stronger together, stronger together.
the wish of every individual and nation to constantly have total peace. It is on this premise that the United Nations has set aside 21st September as International Day of Peace with the aim of promoting peace around the globe. As the world marks this year's Day of Peace, Diana Ajale takes a look at some of the possible ways of promoting peaceful coexistence among Nigerians.
The world is still grappling with the coronavirus pandemic and conflicts of various degrees. As nations follow the path of healing from the virus, the need to help one another to bounce back is paramount. This year's theme for International Day of Peace, which is Recovering Better for an Equitable and Sustainable World, is aimed at addressing it. The day is to educate the public on issues of concern, mobilize political will and resources to address global problems, celebrate and reinforce achievements of humanity.
We should preach peace. We should love our neighbors as ourselves.
Ways to maintain peace in the nation is simply being fair and just.
The United Nations General Assembly also devoted a Peace Day to strengthening ideas of peace through observing 24 hours non-violence and ceasefire. Global leaders believe that now is the time to think creatively and collectively on how to help everyone get better and transform the world into a suitable place for all.
Let us seek peace and pursue peace. Only peace can give us what we want. With peace, there will be progress.
We need to be individual conscious that everybody has contribution to give so that we can have peace and we can have unity.
To start preaching good mannerisms, godliness, all those things are things that bring sanity.
Respondents say it is time to embrace and promote peace, irrespective of tribe and religious differences, gender, age, or class. As these will contribute to the nation's economic development and safety of lives and property. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
And joining me live in the studio to discuss more on the Peace Day is Mrs. Nkechi Ali Balogun, a humanitarian expert. Thank you for joining us in Panorama.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, now, considering the theme for the year, which is recovering better for an equitable and sustainable world, how relevant is the theme to the present realities?
I think this very theme is apt and speaks to the realities of today. After COVID, even before COVID, people are hurting. People are frustrated. We have a lot of unemployed youth. We just heard now United Nations report that many women have lost their jobs and 2 million more are likely to lose their jobs. People are frustrated, they are depressed. We are having an increase in mental health. So it is really time for recovery. And for us to recover better, government must intentionally, deliberately design political, spiritual, and probably mental solutions that will create peace, will help people to engender peace, all right? And then we want to begin to speak to our consciences. It is time to heal. It is time to dialogue. It is time to forgive. It is time for us to speak to our inner selves, because we cannot have peace unless we ourselves as individuals have peace within us. You can only give what you have. So I think this is a time also that we must be cautious about the way we speak. Governments must design a template for non-violent communication. Non-violent communication that allows us to speak to people with compassion. Because when you speak with people with compassion, they heal fast. I'm a Christian, and the Word of God says that soft word turneth away wrath. If your neighbor is able to talk to you with compassion, if your neighbor is able to talk to you with non-violent messages, if our leaders should realize that people are hurting, people are hungry, people are homeless, then the way they speak to us will be able to bring about peace. So the theme is very apt. I think it's a call to action.
Okay. Now, it is often said that there can't be meaningful development in any country that is engulfed in crisis. How can we achieve peaceful coexistence for national growth?
It's obvious. When a home is in crisis, there can never be peace. But for there to be peace, again, I keep using this word, deliberate and intentional actions. There must be interventions from government. Government must, at this critical point in our lives, come up with a template that will make up for peace. A template that will resonate in every nook and corner of this country, that will help people to live in peace, speak in peace, act in peace, walk in peace. You know, there's no... You can't be telling us to make peace, and your language does not say so.
Okay, please hold that thought there, Kechi. We shall go on a break, and when we return, she will continue with the theme for the day.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Thank you for holding on, and we're still talking about World Peace Day. Now, Nkechi, you were talking about the template to engender peace.
Yes. The nation, our leaders, must, at this critical point in our lives, come up with templates that every state, every school, every home must follow. Peace is a value. So, if it is a value, what are we doing? How are we designing? What designs, what templates do we have that people will follow for national cohesion, for national peace? Okay? Yeah. So until we have such templates, we may not be able to have peace. Because what is happening in the Southwest is different from what is happening in the East. It's different from what is happening in the North. So who are we following? Do we have a template? Do we have a program for peace in this country?
Now, that will take me to the next question. What is the role of the family in this process?
The role of the family is obvious. It has always been there. The family nurtures members of the family in a way and inculcates the values of the family into their members of the family. And then most times, every family seeks for peace. All right? But there has to be a continuation. There has to be a follow-up. Now, remember that a child is influenced by both nature and nurture. Okay? When the child leaves home, What does he go to school to meet? What does he go to the society to meet? What does he go to the office to meet? When he's relating with people? And so that is why a template is very critical. There must be a value system that even the family will have confidence in, to say, yes, I have tried with my family. But when they go out, there is a system that will support whatever we have done.
Okay, so we need an organized system.
We need an organized system
for peace
yes.
to reign in the country. Now, what role is humanitarianism playing in taking help to people in conflict situation?
Well, globally, everywhere, humanitarian aids are, just like the name said, there for support. They support the health system, they support the educational system and all that. But in Nigeria, I don't think we have actually felt the impact of humanitarian aid. Look at what happened during COVID. Even the food that they gave to us, did it get to the poor? Did it get to the people that it was meant for? So humanitarian aid, incidentally, it has been on the increase, especially when we've been having conflicts in every area, or not just Nigeria. I mean, conflicts, crisis is not native to Nigeria. Humanitarian aids have increased. Yes. And some people have even accused humanitarian aids as being part of the problem. But they are never part of the problem. It's a support system. It's a support system, but even then, people must be able to assess that aid, must reach that aid, and it must be such that it gets to the people that it's meant for.
Thank you very much, Nkechi Ali Balogun, for sharing your thoughts with us on Panorama today.
Thank you very much.
Moving on now, Sokoto State Government, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, are to block the telecommunication services in 14 local government areas to further check the activities of bandits and other collaborators in the state. A statement by the Special Advisor to the State Governor on Media and Publicity, Mohammed Bello, says this followed the containment order approved 3 weeks ago, which closed some roads, markets, suspension of trades and transportation in animals, petroleum products and jerrycans, among others. Also suspended a movement of more than 3 persons on motorcycles and tricycles, and a curfew of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the affected local governments. Now we're moving on to the COVID update. The latest figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows that there are 393 new cases of COVID-19 from 15 states of the Federation, including the FCT, as at the 20th of September 2021. FCT recorded the highest with 121 cases, followed by Lagos with 86, Edo 70, Delta 30, Rivers 24, Plateau 16, Benue 11, Cross River 10, Abia 8, Bayelsa and Gombe 4 each. Bauchi and Kano has 3 cases each, Adamawa 2, while Taraba has a case. There are now 202,191 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, with 190,901 treated and discharged. Sadly, 2,661 deaths have been recorded across the country. It's time now for Olumide Guntola to give us sports.
The Tigresses, among other quarter-finalists, get set to play for the last 4 of the 2021 Afrobasket Championship in Cameroon. The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dari, has expressed confidence in the Nigerian girls of dominating Africa once again after winning the title back-to-back in 2017 and 2019.
The Tigresses have been phenomenal. They've been consistent in their performances, consistent in production when they play at competitions like the Afrobasket. I can only wish them the very best.
In grassroots tennis, the International Tennis Academy expands its platform to attract, identify and nurture young tennis players to stardom with the conclusion of the Futures Tennis Championship in Lagos. As predicted, Oyo State tennis star Mubarak Ganiyu won the championship with a nice victory over Lagos boy Basit Ajao. Nene Yakubu beat success Ogunjobi 9-2 to win the female under-16 final. Under 14 boys defending champion Shehu Ogunshakin's fireworks on the court was too hot to handle for Damilare Awe, who lost Love 9. Marco Mosaji lost again to Murewa Idweyemi in the boys' semi-final as her sister Ndidi Osaji consoled him with the girls' 12th trophy, among other results.
We don't want this talent to waste. We just hope one or two of them, just as the minister has promised, will be sponsored to the academy. And hopefully within the next 2-3 years, we'll have this youngster breaking through into the top 50 in the world.
And in football, fixtures of the England Football League Cup slated for Wednesday show that Chelsea will trade tackles with Aston Villa. Manchester United will play against West Ham United, while Arsenal will lock arms with AFC Wimbledon, among other matches. With Sports Update, Olumide Guntola, NTA News.
And that's Panorama from the Lagos Network Center of the NTA. I am Adeola Komiakere, thanking you for spending your time with us.
Did you get to see the way Telebabadu pulls this?
Don't forget to send in your messages.
There's a difference between picking, child, and issue. The idea that is can do more with less people.
If we have a better way of addressing these issues, taking care of.
Congratulations, you were able to sign Timo Werner from RB Leipzig.
So you take water before your workout.
People have used their phone, using TikTok to do this like
Should I go for test?
a lot of people don't even have resources.
I'm Cecil, and this is the Medley Show on NTA.
This vaccine is safe, and it has been certified safe and usable by NAFTA.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Talking Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder. No!
Stop it! Welcoming you to your weekend for today.
Arise, O compatriots. It's time to use our voice.
Beyond 6 packs.
Bills.
Pay the bills. Keep paying my telephone bills. Keep paying my bills.
Welcome to Gallery.
Me and my paddies.
London for what?
London for medicine.
Medicine for what?
Medicine for coffee.
Are you sickness?
To our illness. Welcome to Gist Zone.
All right, my name is the Eselusien Wego One. Ona nyokoko nyonyo.
Wannan labarin ma yana peji na 36.
ita kuma babban labarin wannan jarida shine ainihin
labarin da ke gaban jarida shine ta bayyana cewa
ọkwa ọjị ikenga eziokwu
nwanne m nwoke
Ikechukwu Ndukwe Igbo
mam iji wee mee ka ụbọchị na-aga n'anya ya
ọjọ́ tuntun ní wùtẹ́lú nù.
nation fún ti òwúrọ̀ yìí ibẹ̀ náà ti sọ pé àwọn ìgbìmọ̀ aláṣẹ ìpínlẹ̀ Benue pàṣẹ wípé.
ní gbogbo àwọn ẹ̀ka ní ẹ̀ka ètò ẹ̀kọ́ ní ẹ̀ka ètò ìlera ní ẹ̀ka ètò ààbò.
Fellow compatriots, if no single tribe or religion has defeated poverty, then no single tribe or religion can develop Nigeria. The success story of every state and capital is the contribution of every tribe and religion. Our Nigeria no be wazobia, no majorities or minorities. Every tribe and every religion still a hustle for naira when no get tribe or religion. So, my country people, let's join this movement that says Naira no get tribe and use the Naira to develop our Naira land. Citizens first. Citizens before state of origin. Citizens before your religion. Citizens before your ethnic belonging. For participation, call 0902 739 5555.
This is the network service of the NTA.
I am Jennifer Igwe. Welcome to Environment Matters. Now, cooking with firewood is an age-long tradition that has transcended generations in Nigeria. Now, that is the only way some people know how to cook in Nigeria. But the United Nations is saying that emission from firewood is hazardous to the health of people in that environment. But that is the option some have. But there is also an alternative of cooking with gas and briquettes. But is it working? Why is it that we still have people who cook with firewood today? Why do they prefer to cook with firewood? And will they ever move to the option of gas and briquettes? What are the challenges? All that is our focus today on Environment Matters, so stay tuned.
Africa. A continent is heating up. Vulnerable nature. Almost 1 billion people. No one else is as hard hit by climate change. Resources become scarce. Poverty is growing. A growing number of Africans is therefore speaking up on climate change.
Africa, Africa,
a necessity with capacity to maim and kill. Some have died slow and silent death for trying to feed their families, run a business, and attend to other needs. Air pollution can be defined as the presence of toxic chemicals or compounds in the air at levels that pose a health risk that can be fatal. World Health Organization reports show that around 3 billion people cook and heat their homes using open fires and simple stove burning biomass and coal. The lower the levels of air pollution, the better the cardiovascular and respiratory health of the population.
So what many people actually don't realize is not Nigeria actually ranks #1 in Africa in deaths from air pollution. In fact, a study done in 2016 showed that 150 people died per 100,000 just from effects of air pollution. So health effects of indoor pollution could be short-term health effects, or they could be long-term health effects. So short-term health effects could be things like individuals could have irritation of the eyes, individuals that are asthmatic could have exacerbation of their symptoms, people could have asthmatic attacks. Then in the long term, you have illnesses like chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and even lung cancer, cardiovascular disease, myocardial infarction. These are the health effects of indoor air pollution.
The United Nations report shows that air pollution accounts for more than 3 times the amount of death from malaria, tuberculosis, and AIDS combined each year. The UN report also shows that 25% of urban air pollution is caused by traffic, 20% by domestic fuel burning, and 15% by industrial activities.
Industries pollute, no doubt. They send emissions out. But what we do with respect to burning waste, what we do with respect to cooking within our houses with poor ventilation, what we do with putting my better pass my neighbor generators in our corridors and all that, we are killing ourselves, we are polluting, because each of those things generate toxic fumes.
Sometimes you walk into a building and maybe people actually don't realize this is indoor air pollution. Or maybe someone is cooking or using their oven and burning material, oils, gases, and there's so much smoke, and then you're coughing, your eyes are watery. These are all health effects of indoor pollution. So those are very obvious. The ones that are not obvious, the ones that are more insidious, are some of the ones that are usually long-term, like lung cancer, cardiovascular disease. Those are a little bit more insidious and take a while to develop. So you may not actually realize you have these problems till you go see your healthcare provider and they make a diagnosis.
The external part of the eyes that we can see has a structure that covers it. It's called the tear film layer. It's made up of 3 parts, and it essentially helps to lubricate the eyes, to keep the eyes lubricated. And it's from this tear film layer that the eyes get oxygen. So the tear film layer, when you look at someone's eyes, it appears as if there's oil, it's oily, or there's little liquid in it. That's the tear film layer. Also, over the tear film layer also settles on top of the conjunctiva. The conjunctiva is like a waterproof-like structure. It has tiny blood vessels. It lines the white part of the eyes and the inner parts of the upper lid and the lower lid. So now when we expose our eyes to dust, dust settles on the lashes. The lashes serves as sieve to protect our eyes from dust. Now most times when we blink, this dust gets into the eyes and causes sandy sensations, and then when we rub, transfer germs from our hands to the eyes, and then we get our eyes infected. The conjunctiva gets swollen and becomes reddish. Then we have bacterial conjunctivitis. Also, smoke. The gases from our firewood, heat from different machines we use to keep the house warm can also dry up this tear film layer and lead to dry eyes. So much smoke can dry up and destroy some structures in the eyes, because structures in the eyes are very delicate and very delicate and sensitive. So when there's too much heat, you're cooking with big burners, you're cooking with firewood, and then it dries up the eyes. Then you have the chemical substances from our insecticide, from our cleaners, from our different cleaning agents. When they get into the eyes, they can cause harm. Some of them can burn the structures of the eyes, leading to atrophies, leading to injuries to the eyes, and eventually infection. And at adverse cases, one can lose their sight.
The World Health Organization also estimated that in 2012 alone, about 46,750 deaths occurred in Nigeria as a result of air pollution.
Air pollution is injurious to health. Air pollution causes different kinds of diseases, lung-related diseases, and even it's been traced that in Nigeria, because we are exposed to loss of air pollutants, that has made it possible for us to be ranked as about the fourth, highest country at risk of air pollution. Getting used to it means we are gradually killing ourselves. Getting used to it, just like telling yourself that I'll keep inhaling poison and my body will adapt to it. It is injurious to health.
Cooking with firewood in Nigeria is almost as old as time itself. As one generation wipes away tears from eyes that have indeed witnessed effects of smoke from cooking with firewood, another takes over. This method of cooking is the only one some families know, so day by day, many are exposed to the hazard of smoke. Although the practice is more common in the rural areas because of proximity to forest, some in the cities prefer this method of cooking.
Gas is the best alternative for cooking, and of course you do know we have electric cookers as well, because their health will be affected. They inhale the polluted air every day because they're there cooking every day. They're very close to the stoves they use, and so directly they're inhaling this very toxic fumes that essentially is very harmful to the system. And if for any reason, or if they are still reproducing, it's going to affect their babies. So we do not advocate, we do not advise them. We try as much as possible to educate them that you have gas. It's cheap enough compared to the deleterious effects of inhaling polluted emissions every single day of their lives.
Natural gas is the most environmentally friendly fossil fuel. This is because it contains what we call the lighter aspect of the hydrocarbon chain, like methane. And because it contains mostly methane, it burns cleaner than most fossil fuel. That means the combustion is almost complete. So it's devoid of other impurities like sulfur, lead, and other complex hydrocarbon, which is contained in other hydrocarbon complex, such as the fossil fuel we're talking about. So that's why it should be encouraged. The use of natural gas should be encouraged for two reasons: to reduce the outdoor air pollution, and also reduce the indoor air pollution. Also, you know that in the process of the use or the awareness of this natural gas will reduce the incidence or the practice of flaring of natural gas. Of flaring of gas itself, which is one of the main sources of the climate change we're talking about.
How do you tell a woman who roasts corn for a living that the smoke that she and her children inhale daily is deadly? Or the mother who uses cheap firewood to cook for her family to stop, especially if it is what her meager pay can carry? Environmentalists say the solution lies in exploring alternative energy sources that are clean, affordable, and healthy.
We're seeing gas is cleaner, the burning is efficient. That will help to replace the traditional use of kerosene and firewood. And the health impact is second to none. So if a woman can switch over from the use of, even today, the cost of kerosene is higher than the cost of buying a gas.
Our forest has been devastated. The desert is fast encroaching. The wildlife in our forests are being depleted and going to extinction. So the use of firewood should not really come into play here. But I tell you this, in some places, they don't even have, getting firewood is difficult because, there are no wood out there in the wild. So it's more expensive in some places, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, where the desert has currently encroached, and the shrubs, that used to be there are no more. So it's expensive in most parts of Nigeria, but the south, of course, is readily available. But I'll tell you this, in terms of health, they could say health is wealth. When you burn firewood, you're actually releasing some poisonous, obnoxious gases into the air, and also it affects your well-being because you are inhaling, those things, that are being emitted. And they said penny wise, pounds foolish. You use firewood, you spend 10 naira to buy firewood today. Why would you spend so much money in the hospital to treat gastrointestinal diseases and some other particulates that affect the lungs and other things?
Although the practice is more common in the rural areas because of proximity to forest, some in the cities prefer this method of cooking. 78-year-old Victoria Olufemi and her neighbor at Okobaba are firewood sellers. They insist that despite modern cooking methods today, there are Nigerian and African foods that can only be well cooked with firewood.
If we use wood to smoke fish, it tastes better. But if we use gas, the taste and odor won't be good for consumption. We have been using wood for ages. You can also smoke fish with wood and go to sleep without any havoc, but gas can trigger fire. Smoking fish with firewood will make it very dry and help to preserve it for a long time, and good for export. I even supply my child in London.
One person's value may be worthless to another. Dupe Bamidele is a food vendor.
I've not used firewood, so I don't have much experience about firewood. Okay. But my mom used firewood when she was still selling food. So then it do affect her eyes, and she do complaints of body pains sometimes, and it gives her a lot of problem, especially when we are in the rainy season.
Bamidele says apart from health benefits, clean cooking gas is more economical for petty businesses like hers.
There is a lot of difference between using of gas and firewood. Gas is very easy to use in times of cooking food, especially for we that are selling food, with the food sellers. So gas is very, very easy than firewood.
In terms of cost, Uncle?
As we are now, gas is very costly. It's very expensive. Because before we bought this 25 kg and 12 kg at the rate of 2,500 naira. But now it's 5,000 naira. It's very costly, but at the same time, it's very easy to use. And it's faster than firewood. Because by the time you are using firewood to cook rice for about an hour, you are using gas to cook rice for just 15 minutes. So there's a lot of difference between gas and firewood.
This is still Environment Matters. Now, Okobaba in Lagos mainland is an area where we have sawmills and large amounts of sawdust from wood factories there. Now, in the past, there was an initiative to turn them into briquettes so that people in that environment can cook without emitting smoke. But today, that initiative is no more, and we have this large amount of sawdust that end up right there in the open. People come around, pack them and use them for cooking, and the result is also large amount of smoke. How can this change, and what is happening right now to that initiative is our focus in our next feature. Okobaba is noted for wood mills and market. So supply of firewood for cooking for many in this area is easy breezy. For as low as 100 naira, women from this community buy firewood, which they claim may not be exhausted after cooking a family meal. And for those who can't afford to buy, sawdust from the sawmill is a low-end alternative. Sawdust and wood shavings from the wood millers at Okobaba pile up in the environment and are sometimes burned to reduce the quantity. And for those who use the sawdust for cooking, their experience is not different from that of those who use firewood. Years ago, there was a United Nations-assisted initiative where byproduct from wood from Okobaba was used to make briquettes, a compressed block of combustible biomass. The aim was to have an affordable, healthy, and environment-friendly cooking option for members of the Okobaba community and beyond. It was an option sitting in between clean cooking gas and firewood.
Actually, we don't have waste. It's all what we call waste now is raw material for another product. The sawdust, for example, is for briquettes, plywood, and other things like that. But some years back, we've worked on it. We did some test running. But at the end of the day, the product, the product has some comment from the end users, because the briquette that we produce then has smoke. It's smoky. When they use it for cooking, or the bakers and others, they complain of the smoke. And secondly, the machines that they use for testing is a very small size, so it cannot really meet the taste of the quantity of sawdust produced at Okobaba here.
This closely compacted shanties in Okobaba, a low-income community in the Lagos mainland, is home to some of the very poor of the urban poor. Many here are pet traders and fish sellers. People here dread the idea of clean cooking gas, not because they have tried it, but based on their traditional beliefs, a notion that it is for the rich, and fear of explosion from misuse that could raise the almost nothing they have.
misinformation. The methane gas that we use as domestic gas, it's inflammable like every other hydrocarbon. But again, following the right protocols. For example, it is contained, as we use it today, in a pressurized cylinder. That cylinder has been manufactured to withstand high pressure. So the cylinder, the gas contained in the cylinder is safe. Then if you follow the right protocols, the right safety protocols, then of course there's no reason why you have the incident that happens in some homes. So I think that's a misconception that the gas is not safe or causes fire. It's based on the fact that some people are careless with the usage. I think currently the government is moving in the right direction. They have compelled some of the hydrocarbon extracting companies to utilize gas. They've encouraged the use of third-party off-takers, to take some of these natural gas from the explorers, and that is really working. And we have a lot of LPG facilities springing up everywhere. DPR is doing a lot to ensure that these LPG facilities are safe and sited in the right environment for people to utilize. That's all on the program today. Until next week when another episode of Environment Matters comes your way, I am Jennifer Igwe. Keep being environment friendly.
Did you get to see the way Daily Babadu pulls this? Don't forget to send in your messages.
There's a difference between picking, child, and issue. The idea that is can do more with less people.
If we have a better way of addressing these issues, taking care of...
Congratulations, you were able to sign Tilo Werner from RB Leipzig.
So you take water before your workout.
People have used that phone, using TikTok to do that.
Should I go for test? Should I...
A lot of people don't even have resources.
I'm Cecil, and this is the Medley Show on NTA.
This vaccine is safe, and it has been certified safe and usable by NAFTA.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go